All of Merry Marvelites. Yes, we are back. We are very excited to be back and having another fun-filled hour or so talking about Marvel. I'm Christian Blatt. With us, the one, the only Michael Shirley. Incomparable, yes. And also in A League of Her Own, Rachel Radner, Rachel Goodman, Rachel Author. Thank you. So good to have you here. The first thing that I think we should really talk about is there's so much speculation. There's so much disappointment. But I, for one, am glad to be able to comment on the fact that Black Widow is back, and we're so glad that we have her. And from the spring, and now she's in our homes. Of course, I'm talking about the new issue number 1 of Black Widow, which was supposed to tie into the movie. And if you look at it, they're all for like March, and they delayed it, and then they're like, I don't know when this movie's going to come out. We're going to just go ahead and bring her back. So if you're feeling the loss of Natasha, you can go get her at your local comic book store. Since apparently she may very well not be in our movie theaters just a little under 2 months from now. So there's a lot to kind of cover in that when it comes to talking about the state of movie theaters. And I'm sorry, what was that, Michael?
I actually ordered a variant version of that comic book that I'm expecting to be on my doorstep as soon as the show is over.
Is it the one where she has the very large booty? Because that feels like yeah. I feel like also, I would know the variant that you would do. Go ahead.
Just a shout out to anyone who reads their comics like I do on Comixology. You can also purchase Black Widow number 1 on there as well. So, which is how I'm reading it.
Yes. No, it's true. Yeah. And, they're just like, you know what, we can't wait forever. We have to tell this story at some point. Continuity will come past it. And so as it relates to the Black Widow movie, I think that the movie theater industry was really hanging their hopes on Tenet, which is released as of last weekend. You even here in Los Angeles at the drive-ins. It was in a lot of markets, and I think that right now it's about 55% of markets have theaters open, but they're only half capacity. But as of right now, I believe that Tenet has made $27 million. And I don't think that's what they were looking for when they thought that was the way to, welcome people back to the movies. I contend that perhaps if it was a better movie, more people would be seeing it. My thoughts on Tenet is that it is very, 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 very okay. It's only twice as much as New Mutants. And if I had to see one of those movies again, I would probably want to see New Mutants again, just because at least it was fun. And also it's an hour. It's also an hour and 10 minutes shorter. Now, Rachel, I know you saw Tenet and you had the experience of seeing it in an actual physical movie theater, right?
I did. So we went back to, hubby Joe and I went back to Pennsylvania. All the movie theaters in the suburbs have been open. This was not a new thing. They have been open since the summer, July. It's been a long time. Yeah. So especially when you're in LA and you're used to everything being shut, to go back to Pennsylvania for a family reason, not just because we happened to be in Pennsylvania, and I noticed that all of the theaters were open. So we saw Tenet there, and Christian, I'm going to have to disagree with you on the movie just being okay. I very much enjoyed it. I'm also a very huge Christopher Nolan fan, though, so that could be part of it. But I like all of his movies. I very much enjoyed the genre-bending aspect of it. And I absolutely love how they took time travel and tweaked it so that it wasn't just a typical time travel story. But I did, when I was looking up the metrics today, Tenet has grossed $29.5 million domestically since its release on September 3rd. And I don't know that they were going to do much better than that, considering how many movie theaters are actually still closed, number one. But number two, just the fact that a lot of people probably don't want to go to a theater right now.
Yeah, but I would think that the way to get people back in the movie theater is sort of your more big blockbuster everybody needs to see, which would have been Wonder Woman in 1984, which the fact that it's the same studio, they very quickly moved that off to Christmas, which those are the sort of the dominoes. And now I think Disney has obviously been very gun shy because they keep moving their movies to Disney Plus. I think I'm not sure if they 100% did it, but I think that they were moving the polls now, and not trying to put that into. And most likely, the reason why I talk about Black Widow being available at our comic shops or Comixology is the fact that it doesn't look like she'll be in the movie theaters in November as we were expecting up until about a week ago. Or I don't think it's really shocking, but I do think that somebody's going to have to be the one to kind of dive in with their big blockbuster movie, because I think that's what it's going to take. And a good Christopher Nolan movie, but if I want to see a Christopher Nolan movie again for some reason, I would definitely see Inception. I don't know that if I watched this movie again, it would be because I couldn't understand it, and there were several inconsistencies that I don't want to spoil for people, that I'm like, or am I just not smart enough to understand it? But we can talk about that non-Marvel movie more another time. I did what I wanted to ask you about, sort of not about the movie itself. You'd said that in Pennsylvania, the movie theaters have been open for a while. So probably generally speaking, people are comfortable with it. Do you feel like it was well attended, that every movie that is indoors is at a lower capacity? But do you feel like there were a decent number of people there, and that the turnout was good for whenever you went?
We went to 3 different indoor movies while we were there, and then we did a drive-in. But for the 3 indoor movies, it was pretty much just me and hubby Joe, no matter what time of day that we went. So I would say that most people are not going, at least not in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, and as you said, that they've been open for a while there, and people are going. Yeah, it's almost like, if you could tell people, like, look, we can guarantee that you'll be the only 2 people in the theater, I think a lot more people, well, that'll definitely go. It's sort of the old joke, just the Chicago Cubs are so bad. You would call and say, what time is the game today? And they would say, what time can you be here? So maybe that's what it would be with the movies. It's like, when's the next showing of Tenet? As soon as you get here, that's when I'll show you Tenet. Would you like to also see New Mutants and Unhinged? Talking a little bit about New Mutants, and we did a show, Kate, where we talked about New Mutants, but Rachel was traveling and Michael had not seen it yet. But Michael, I believe you're here to announce that you did finally see it last night, right?
I did see it last night in a double feature with Peninsula, the Train to Busan sequel. There were about 8 cars maybe at the drive-in, but it was a Wednesday night.
Yeah. And I am very interested to know what you think, because there's a lot of different emotions one could have seeing that movie. So what did you think, Michael?
It didn't feel like a normal movie at all. I didn't feel like a normal beginning, middle, and end. It didn't when it was over, it didn't feel like I've watched a movie, if that makes any sense. Like, I see why they wanted to reshoot it. At the end, I went with one of my friends, I was like, I guess, Ileana was the star, and he was like, well, I thought Danny was the star, and I was like, I guess she was the star, but I don't know. It was just, so it didn't feel Marvel. I didn't like that Dr. Reyes got killed. I thought that was really weird. The Demon Bear was really silly. I absolutely loved the last puppet. I loved it. It was probably the highlight for me when Ileana would talk to it. But when he came,
the Lockheed puppet. I actually go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go on.
Well, the Lockheed puppet, I actually thought of you when I saw it. I was like, all right, I think you're gonna like that. And actually getting to see real Lockheed, what I told people, because I've talked to people who've seen it and hated it, and I'm like, look, I was just blinded by the fact that I saw Lockheed in it. It was fine. There's a lot of things I liked about it, and I talked about that in our most recent episode. I want to see that. But that I think, like, getting to see Lockheed on the big screen, it's like, yeah, I can overlook a lot of things, but say that it's more that Ileana was a character in it, but it was supposed to be about Danny Moonstar, I would say.
Right. I absolutely adored Ileana. Like, I don't think they could have cast anyone more perfect to play her. Her outfit was perfect. Her arm was perfect. Her sword was perfect. She was great. To me, she and Lockheed made the movie. I loved the noise Lockheed made. I just thought that was just so cute and scary. And I was also really kind of interested in seeing, what is it, the Smiley Men or the Smile Men? I forget which they're called. The ones that Ileana is like terrified of. But I know Marilyn was voicing them, but it was really strange because it was just like screeches. Like anyone could have voiced them. So I thought he got kind of a raw deal. Like, that was kind of strange.
Well, I'm sure that Marilyn Manson got a decent enough check to do the voices for those.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, why would... Yeah, just to me, it was kind of like, why would you waste that kind of a name on sound effects? But,
yeah, no, I mean, if I'm the the line producer or somebody at the studio approving the budget, I'm like, wait, why did you spend all that money on Marilyn Manson? Like my cat could have made that noise. Yeah, I think that I think it is very different. And as I've had more time to think about the movie, it feels like it's the pilot to a New Mutants TV series that they're never going to make. It definitely feels like if you've ever seen a pilot TV show that didn't get picked up, and you're like, oh, they had all this stuff there, but you will never see any of it. Now, Rachel, I referenced on our last episode that you saw New Mutants at the same drive-in I did, and that we talked a little bit about it afterwards, but you haven't had the chance to discuss here on the show. So I wanted to let you share your thoughts with our audience.
So first thing I want to say, calling back to what you said earlier, Christian, given the choice between seeing Tenet or New Mutants again, I would probably go with Tenet. That's generally how I felt about New Mutants. I didn't hate it. I will just say that. I did really like Danny as a character. I like how they portrayed her. I really loved Ileana, and I loved the way that they were all bonding and eventually, and that they kind of formed as a team. What I did not like is, first of all, like Michael said, the bear. No, like it just didn't work for me. Like just the way they, the CGI just was not working. And also, I know, Christian, one of the things you and I talked about after we saw it was that seeing it in a drive-in, it was kind of hard to see what was happening during some of those scenes. So yeah, so that was the other thing. So I'm not going to blame the movie on that. It could have just been the drive-in itself. But just in general, I wasn't a huge fan of the bear. I really liked Charlie Heaton as an actor, but what was up with the accent? That did not work. It was so bad. It felt like a caricature. I was like, I hope.
I mentioned this last week. My friend who lives in Saskatchewan, he said that he hated the movie. He hated all the characters, and more than anything, he hated everyone's accents.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's not a movie for you, clearly. And that accent in particular, the Cannonball accent. I have a friend who's from Kentucky. Actually, he's been on the show, Jeff Winstead, and he loves Cannonball because Cannonball's from Kentucky. I was like, look, whenever you do see it, just be ready for the accent to really hurt your ears.
It
was just so, it was poorly done, and I don't think that's a reflection on Charlie as an actor. I'm refusing to believe that. I just think that someone misguided him and he needed a better vocal coach. He needed someone who was going to help him with the dialect. And I don't like that movie. They have a high enough budget to get a person to help an actor with that dialect. I'm sorry, but it was just a failure there.
They listed in the credits. Yeah.
Michael, I want to let you in with 2 comments, Michael. But what I want to say, quick follow up for that. It was like to train for the part. They said, "Okay, Charlie, listen to these recordings of Huckleberry Hound, and then you're going to get the voice right." Now, Michael, you were trying to get in a couple of times. What were you trying to say?
For me, I had a pretty big problem with Rain's accent. It was a little over the top for me, but I was able to look over Cannonball's accent because in the background they're playing Loretta Lynn, coal miner's daughter, and I'm just like, I cannot believe this is in a Marvel movie. I'm so glad. I hope she's getting some major money to buy a big old dress. Like, that meant so much to me, and I just really, really, really loved that moment so much. But back to the dialect coaches, I saw in the trailers, Ileana's character, Rain's character, and Cannonball's character, they all had dialect coaches. They were the only ones that had them. And I mean, it's clear that Ileana's was the best one. Like, it was hard for me to believe she was like not like Russian.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly did not use whoever they used for Elizabeth Olsen in Ultron. The accent, which, as we've pointed out on this show many times, he lost in subsequent movies. That's how bad that accent was. They told her to just give up and never do it again. So, yeah, I think that the interesting thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Maisie Williams actually Scottish? So I felt like that shouldn't have been hard for her to do.
I think she was Irish.
I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I guess it bothered some. Oh, okay, well, then maybe that's the problem right there. Yeah,
she's okay. So technically,
what was that, Michael?
She's not Irish.
Daughter?
No, talking about Maisie Williams.
Yeah.
So no. As far as I know, she is not.
Yeah, I'm talking from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah, she's Arya from Game of Thrones. And she is not Irish.
Right.
She's not Irish or Scottish. She is from Bristol in the United Kingdom. So English.
So there you go. So she should have that like standard British accent that they make everybody talk in. Like David Tennant's, British proper accent instead of his Scottish accent. That's what she probably should sound like. Before we move on from talking about movie theaters and all of that, Michael B. in the chat said, "Sorry, no one is going back to the movies until they feel safe to go." I think that's absolutely right. This would be a great reason for studio to go back to making $10 to $15 projects for video on demand. I think that he's onto something in terms of there being more of those, but obviously movie studios are in the business of making billion-dollar movies. I think that's what they're interested in, and that's what they need, and especially after the year they've had, I think that's what they're counting on. After that, a friend who has been catching the show live, but was very excited to be able to be in the chat today is Johan Pena. And he wanted to know if we think Black Widow would still be released in theaters on Disney Plus. And I'll keep saying this until I'm proven wrong, but I can't imagine Disney Plus having Black Widow before movie theaters, even or much further than that. I do think that that's the kind of I think that that's the kind of movie that they're like, no, we're just going to wait. We're going to make people pay to sit in a room and spend, $20 a person and, add up the money the old fashioned way. I think that, obviously putting like that version of Hamilton that ended up on Disney Plus, that was supposed to be theatrical. Their business model for Mulan was interesting, and it seems like that's what they're going to do with Soul. But I think that this is the one movie that they're not going to do. And similarly, the idea that Warner Brothers might just put Wonder Woman on HBO Max is just crazy. I mean, people like to pitch that because they feel like that means they could see it for free and see it sooner. But it's like, no, those movies aren't coming to your house before they come to a big screen. And I think, to sort of refer back to Tenet, internationally, it has made a lot of money. And I think that those are markets where people are, maybe they feel a little bit further along in terms of, recovering from the virus and being out and about in the world. I think here in the US, it's difficult, but it is hard to gauge when the two biggest markets in the country, New York and Los Angeles, don't have indoor movie theaters. Now, we get to cheat a little bit here in LA because we can go to the drive-in without too much trouble. It's not that easy for people who live in actual, like, the five boroughs in Manhattan. Manhattan and the five boroughs is what I meant to say. So, but I think that even so, and I know that the Paramount Theater that we went to in the drive-in that we were both at for New Mutants, that was the screen that made the most per day, or that opening weekend of New Mutants. That one theater, if you will, that's where they had the highest gross for that movie. And there are a lot of cars there, but there's not that many. So that'll tell you about people going to the indoor theaters. And yeah, I think a really big, huge blockbuster movie is at least going to make people feel a little bit more inclined to, like, all right, yeah, let's take a risk, because it'll be people who are inclined to do things like that. Look, you do have people going to Disney World right now. So there'd be a big movie like that. I don't think you're going to get that many people to go to a movie theater if it's like, oh, do you want to see Back to the Future for $5, when you could just see Back to the Future, if you're like me, you have it on Blu-ray, so I don't need to go to a movie theater to see Back to the Future. Before we move on, Rachel, out of curiosity, what were the others you saw in movie theaters?
So we saw The Personal History of David Copperfield. We ended up seeing Words on Walls, and then we saw Tenet. So those were the three. The fourth movie, we wanted to see what the difference between a California drive-in would be like and a new pop-up drive-in in Pennsylvania. Now, I've been to drive-ins in Pennsylvania, but this was a new one. And compared to our experiences in California, hardly anyone was at this Pennsylvania drive-in. So we saw Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince there just to see a movie. But yeah, those are the movies that we saw. I just want to add to what you've been saying, Christian. From what I'm hearing, theaters like AMC are supposed to be officially, opening back up within the next couple of months, even in LA. So I am starting to think that when they say they're going to postpone these releases, I just have a feeling that maybe by December we can still see Wonder Woman, and that they're not going to push it again. And that, like you said about Black Widow, I don't think it's going to be video on demand ever. I think they will wait until they can release it. But I just have a feeling from what I'm hearing that December might actually be a date where they can push it and it can actually stick this time.
Yeah, look, I think it's obviously, they don't make movies to make friends. They make movies to make money. And the idea of putting Wonder Woman out at Christmas, well, that's in the 2020 calendar year. And so, they're able to put some nice grosses at the end of the year. I think that's a safe date. I do think it'll come out that day. I don't know what they're going to do with Black Widow. I honestly, when I heard that Wonder Woman was moving, I was like, great, they should put Black Widow on that day. They should put it out on October 2nd. They should actually put Black Widow out earlier. You should capitalize on being like the only big movie that come out in the fall, until it's wintertime. I don't think that Disney shares my view on that, but it's obviously a story that's going to continue to evolve in the weeks ahead, and we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know. We'll see if we get to see this Black Widow movie in 2020. If Black Widow moves, then you start to wonder what are they going to do with the James Bond movie, because that's I'd say Black Widow, James Bond, and Wonder Woman. I know there's other movies, but those are the biggest movies. I would say like Dune isn't in the same conversation as those. So how many of those movies will actually come out? Let us know what you think when you are watching, live on the chat, or if you're watching the archive version, always let us know. And just to put a final button on this, Ghost8386 likes New Mutant, and considering the amount of entertainment I'm able to go out into the world and get, I was very happy for my $10 to sit in the car and eat Sonic. So, you know, it was fun. But there's other movie news, believe it or not. Our drive-in was $10. Why? Was yours less than $10, Michael?
20.
20? Well, I had to spend 20 because my wife was there too, but it was $10 for just me.
Oh, okay.
Right. It's a business so here's the interesting thing. We had some actual news, which doesn't often happen, and it usually doesn't happen before the show. But there's the revelation that Jonathan Majors will be in the next Ant-Man movie, and he will be playing Kang. So for people that don't know Jonathan Majors, myself included, because I have not seen Lovecraft Country, although I hear a lot of people talking about it, I just have not had the opportunity to see it yet. So the idea of playing Kang is this sort of time traveling, 30th century character who's actually a very complicated character because a younger version of him is also a character named Immortus. So I think that it's exciting to get Ant-Man 3 news. Kind of interesting that this would be the movie that would introduce Kang. You felt like he's more of, a Thanos level big bad to work up to in an Avengers movie. Michael, when you and I traded messages about this, I think you were not that excited about the news about Kang. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wish they would stay out of all this space stuff. It's like Dark Phoenix, Avengers, like come back down to Earth. We got plenty of great villains on Earth. Kang's just never been a big person for me. I always felt like he looked silly, like very much like 1950s, 1960s, like Art Adams. Like it just, I've never thought he just really translated well. I think it's weird, but going forward, since we last spoke about it, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but do you guys think that it's kind of like, I don't know if it's, I don't want to say the word racist or if it's like a token thing. Do you not find it strange that they would cast someone with a like dark blue skin to be black? It's like, I think that's kind of weird. Like, I initially would think, Kang,
I see your point because yeah. Well, I see your point because if you're casting a black actor and then they're not going to actually be black in the movie, which by the way we don't know that he's going to be blue. We just assume because of what the comic book character looks like, and I do think it would be strange if he didn't. But go ahead, Rachel.
Well, the other thing is that nothing is confirmed that he's playing Kang the Conqueror. That is just like what some people believe and what it's like, allegedly some of the rumors are. All we know for sure is that he's going to be in this, in Ant-Man 3. I do not really, I'm with you, Michael. I don't want to see him play Kang. I would rather see him play another villain. And I think that they have really pushed, I would like to see them back on the ground, especially with Ant-Man. I just don't see what they did with 1 and 2. I don't see them going in the same direction with some of the other movies and taking it off planet. So I'd rather it be focused here. And I don't know. I would like to see Jonathan Majors playing another kind of role than Kang.
I mean, I
sure. And look, the interesting thing is, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I think if we're going to get Kang, we need to find a blue actor.
Yes. Well, I guess we can get Karen Gillan because she's already been painted blue.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. If you're going to introduce the character of Kang, as I mentioned, that doesn't mean you're necessarily introducing him as Kang because Iron Lad, Ramatut, Scarlet Centurion, and Immortus, those are all the same guy. So he could be, just hypothetically say that he is going to be Kang. In this movie, he could be any one of those characters. So I don't quite expect to be Iron Lad, but that doesn't, you know what I mean? So we could actually see him as one of those other versions, and then somewhere down the road, he's going to be blue. But, and then Jacob Downey with the we're all thinking we need to get somebody from the Blue Man Group. And then Charles Downey says, is Kang Reed Richards' father or his descendant? Time travel stories can get all wibbly wobbly. They absolutely can. My understanding is that Kang is Reed Richards' father. And then so the reason why that is lending itself to a conversation on social media is, does that mean that we would get an African-American Reed Richards? So valid question. And could certainly be interesting to see.
Michael B. Jordan.
And I mean, I guess he could obviously,
yeah,
you know,
well,
like, no, I mean, obviously we could get more of the Nathaniel Richards backstory first before we move into the Kang territory. But I don't know. We don't even know for certain if he's playing a supervillain. That's just what speculation is. I almost would rather see him in a starring role that isn't villain. That is, you know, maybe, I don't know, someone else who's going to be teaming up with Ant-Man.
Yeah. And Daniel Drew is pointing out that he's a descendant of Reed, but again, it's the same family, so it's the same question. You know, it all factors in. Let us know if you're excited about this idea. Daniel Drew also says that remember, we see Kang in various other versions, and they could be more human versions than his actual Kang. So I just shared a comment to me, and that is, of course, the reason to share a comment if someone, of course, agrees with me. But you know, we're talking about stuff that's happening in the future. We're talking about stuff getting pushed back, maybe out of 2020. But good news for people who want Marvel content in 2020. Disney Plus seems to have confirmed that we will get WandaVision in 2020. It seems like it's leapfrogged over Falcon and Winter Soldier, which has only recently returned to filming. The understanding is that WandaVision is a very contained production. You know, it's a lot of sound stages and studio sets. So if we don't get Black Widow, if we don't get any other Marvel movies, at the very least, we'll get something that was intended to be on our TVs. Rachel, your thoughts on the confirmation of getting to see WandaVision this year?
I mean, I think they should just keep it the way that they've set it up to be. I'm not, you know, we had heard this before, that they had pretty much finished everything, you know, in terms of filming. So I am not surprised that we're getting it in 2020, and it makes sense to me. And they also, you know, it would, you know, kind of help give us something in 2020 to look forward to, and to keep the fans happy. So I'm really excited. And yeah, like that's, yeah, I'm excited that we're actually going to still get this.
What do you think, Michael?
Oh, you know, I'm totally here for Wanda. As long as she leaves that accent. I'm totally excited for this show. I'm imagining some kind of like crazy retro, like I Love Lucy, Donna Reed, like Facts of Life, like The Cosby Show, like I'm just Roseanne, like I'm just imagining this like crazy show.
Yeah, and if I had to guess for when it would start, I mean, Disney Plus announced it would begin on October 30th. So my guess would be right after that. I think that's probably when we would get WandaVision, because they would like people to stay subscribed to the service, you know, not just get the 8 weeks, however many episodes they're doing of Mandalorian, and then stick around. So hopefully we get an exact date for that soon. And I'm perfectly fine to wait a little longer on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think however long they need to tell that story the way they want, to make sure that it's a good show, I'm perfectly fine with that. And Cami Egan is the same mindset as mine. Cami Egan says, I couldn't help but geek out to the sets used in the promo for WandaVision. Absolutely. And also, Michael B says, I'm tired of them teasing these Marvel projects. Let's just see one of them. Yeah, I agree. I would like to just get something this year. You know, we gotten anything that's an actual Marvel product this year. We haven't had anything new since Spider-Man: Far From Home. So it would be great to finish off 2020 in a way where we at least get to see one of these things. I know that. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I was just going to say really fast. There was a presentation with investors where Disney essentially confirmed that WandaVision would be appearing sometime in December of 2020. So that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, I'm expecting the week after The Mandalorian. So if that's 8 episodes, it'll be the middle, but or maybe they'll count Wonder Woman, be like, you want to go out on Christmas or do you want to stay inside and watch this show? And then Daniel Drew points out that Marvel 616, that's another series that will actually be in November. That's just that's not the same. It's not this sort of a scripted big budget thing like this. Since we're talking about Vision, I did want to talk about the news. Michael and I were trading messages about this. As of, believe it or not, it'll have been 2 years. Luke Cage and Iron Fist can both be rebooted by Marvel starting next month. They've had it, there's the deal with Netflix was that they had 2 years before the characters reverted to them to do what they please. If you know me, I was a rare fan of the Iron Fist TV series. Most people were not. But I really loved any time, whether it was in Defenders or in the episode of season 2 of Luke Cage, anytime you put Luke and Danny together, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. So, Michael, you hear this news. What are your thoughts?
I want it to happen. I think it's just so silly and great, and I want it to happen. I felt like those poor shows got really slighted, and they were so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I agree to disagree, I think, about The Punisher, which I still have not finished because I cannot. It's just too... But I honestly, I mean, I want to see them together in their own show. I don't want to see them with separate shows at all. I have zero interest in that. But I mean, I'd much more like to see a Daredevil show, or see him honestly in the movies. Like, he's so good. And Christian Ritter is good too. I don't know. I don't know about Jessica Jones. If they'll bring Patsy into the fold, sure, but I definitely would watch.
Well, here's what I think, and let me know what you think, Rachel. I think Daredevil is destined to be on the big screen. I don't think they'll do another Daredevil series. I do think that the characters of Power Man and Iron Fist could end up in movies, but I don't think that they would get their own movie. So if they are going to do television, I would like to see them together because that's what I like the most. And, had they been able 4 or 5 of the Luke Cage and the Iron Fist show, the idea was that there was going to be a Heroes for Hire in addition to that at some point. So, Rachel, as we talk about all these properties that Marvel's getting, basically getting back to the sandbox that they're allowed to play with them, what do you think are the best fit for Power Man and Iron Fist, but also Daredevil since he came up?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is I loved Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and I'm really, I don't know that they could. I will always have that version of the characters in my head now. And so I'm not, and so many people loved those shows. So I'm not sure that it would behoove them to redo each individual show. But I do like the idea of bringing the characters back and reintroducing them and bringing them into the MCU so that we can do something with them. Daredevil's too big of a character to not utilize him. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. I would not be against getting new, Jessica Jones or Daredevil content.
Yeah, I just think those of us who were particularly fond of those characters, we love the tales they had. You have people right now talking about they want Mike Coulter to be back. I think that the majority of people would not be disappointed if Finn Jones did not return as Iron Fist. I think a lot of people might not even notice. But I would I have to respectfully disagree with Michael. I understand not wanting to watch The Punisher because Punisher might be a little bit violent, but if they're going to use the Punisher, I would hate to see somebody other than John Bernthal. So as they get these characters back, they are going to have to decide, are we just going to do a new take entirely, which they very well might. And I can understand that, but I think that we all hope that we can see them, and Charles Lee is going over the specifics. It's October 22nd is the day in 2018 that Netflix canceled Luke Cage. So at that point, the character and Mike Coulter would be available. Yeah, that's what we're saying. We're saying next month is when those characters revert back to it. I think Iron Fist was canceled a couple weeks before that. They're going to get it back, and we'll see what they do with it. Let us know in the chat whether you're watching live or the archive. Do you expect to see them on the big screen or the small screen? One more thing about the small screen is that Variety is reporting that Sony has the Spider-Man rights, so they're working on a Silk TV series with Phil Lord and Chris Miller working on those, and Silk, of course, being part of the they were going to have, I guess, a Spider-Verse spinoff that was going Silk, and for those that don't know, I just brought it up so I can make sure I get this all right. Silk's real name is Cindy Moon, a Korean-American classmate of Peter Parker's, first introduced in 2014. Much like Peter Parker, she's bitten by a radioactive spider, gives her the ability to move incredible speed. And that character was actually appeared in Spider-Man Homecoming. But obviously we have not seen that on the big screen yet, so it looks like it's destined for the small screen. What do you think, Rachel? Is Silk something you're interested in prior to this, or just hearing it like, okay, so there's a Korean American girl who basically becomes another version of Spider? Sure, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in it. I'm always for having a female superhero, so I can't stress that enough, that I think it's really important. And kind of not to segue too much here or like move into a different topic, but like Olivia Wilde, her take on Spider-Woman, and the fact that we are potentially getting something in the Spider-Man universe that's not connected to Marvel as we know it or the comic books. I just like the direction that we're going with people, like with Olivia Wilde creating content that focuses on a female superhero, and now Silk. Like, I just think that it's a wonderful direction to go, and I would absolutely watch this and support the fact that we're getting to see, more badass women, stepping up as superheroes.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about Olivia Wilde, the expectation that it would be a Spider-Woman movie, but it seems like definitely focus on some of these female characters. I think that there's obviously a vested interest in figuring out something to do with the Spider-Gwen because of how popular the character is and not the cosplay. Michael, what's your interest level in Silk, Spider-Woman, and even throw Spider-Gwen into this? How would you like to see those characters? TV, big screen, live action, animation?
My brain is going in so many directions. So first off, why is Olivia Wilde directing Spider-Woman instead of playing Spider-Woman?
Well, I think that, I don't know, to me,
it's a good question.
I do see, after seeing Booksmart, I have seen her skills as a filmmaker, and so I think, to me, it makes sense.
Well, that's a whole different scale than a superhero movie.
Yeah, but sometimes they do that, where they pull directors who haven't done that.
No, I mean, look, that's what Marvel does. I mean, they took the Russo brothers, who had only directed television. I mean, I think that is definitely their approach. It's sort of like, all right, we're going to help sort of nurture these filmmakers, and they honestly feel like that they're more inclined to probably share their vision, because some of the bigger name directors are obviously where they've run into problems. Disney has, I mean, you know, so I think that might be what they're thinking. I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Michael?
No, I think they're just being cheap and they're trying to save their money for people like Brie Larson. But
well, there's that too. That's definitely it, sure.
I'm with Rachel. I always like Marvel has the best female superheroes. Their female superheroes are probably their best superheroes, like without a doubt. Like Chris Claremont made so many strong women on the X-Men, especially. I definitely would love to see a Silk show. If Sony is going to be the ones doing it, I want them to use that girl from Far From Home. You know, I hate more than almost anything in the entire world, I hate recasting. And I think, okay, well, if you're going to cast some unknown actress in a small role before she becomes an actual superhero, which you're totally investing in this franchise. You have such success with Into the Spider-Verse. Like, cast that character really carefully so that you can use her, keep your continuity, like keep it together. Like it breaks it for me. Like when I see a new actress, like if they do this, which I'm sure they will, I want them to have that actress, but I'm sure that they won't, and that will really bother me. But yeah, I'll take animation, I'll take TV, I'll take movies, I'll take any of it.
Yeah, and you know, look, this is being discussed in the chat. Kame again is talking about would love to see Olivia Wilde play Portrait Woman, but also think the idea of her directing a film could be really good. Yeah, I think that might be what she's more interested in doing at the point. But if you were to tell me that she was going to play Spider-Woman, I wouldn't think that was bad news. Now, I don't think, as somebody who's a new director, I don't think she should do both. I don't think she should play and direct.
No.
Yeah, I think they probably have somebody in mind for her character, and we will see. Now, Rachel, I know you have to go to work, but this is not exactly Marvel related. But if you thought that we were going to do this show and not talk about the Chris Evans photographs that were accidentally sent out there. Now, Rachel, you have chosen not to see them, so that makes one of us. Yeah. So I'll get your thoughts.
Yeah. So my thing is, I don't care that it happened. Whatever, like, to me, that's not a big deal. Sounds like it was an accident. He was playing heads up, and then it just happened to, he happened to accidentally share a picture from his camera roll. Fine. Whatever. Like, to people who do want to see it, I hope they enjoy. But me personally, I just have no interest in looking, and I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think that it's hilarious that people are so like, oh my God, did you see the picture? And I get it, but I also don't care. So it's like, fine. I will say this though. I do love the fact that after this happened, Chris Evans tweeted and said, well, now that I've got your attention, go and vote. I mean, good on him. Like, to me, if anything, it makes me respect him more that he's using this accident as a way to get people to go and vote. And like, just seeing Mark Ruffalo's reaction and Chris Evans' brother reacting, like it's very, to me, that's just hilarious. It's a fun piece of news. No, I'm not going to go look at the picture, but for anyone else who wants to go see it, I hope you enjoyed.
Cami Egan and Michael B are speaking in the chat, and it's basically what my first thought was when I had first heard the news. It was like, well, clearly he's not just America's ass anymore. So that's what I think about Captain America. Michael and I had a very funny exchange where we were talking about it. And Michael, do you remember what you asked me?
Yeah, I said something that. Well, I don't quite remember how I asked it, but it had to do with the Captain America's U.S. agent.
Yeah, you said is that U.S. agent in the picture basically? So,
yeah.
Which I thought was yeah, and yeah, I mean I think that they're. Yeah, I don't know.
Seven.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's, and look how angry he is. Yeah. um, yeah, I think that look, as these things go, I think Chris Evans was able to kind of shrug it off very well. Seeing the picture, you can understand not even remotely embarrassed about it. He's just like, oh yeah, that was an accident, you know. So he doesn't have anything to worry about. And the tweet from Mark Ruffalo I thought was funny. So I'm glad that he's able to have fun about it. And it just reminds us that he is our Captain America. I think that's the right approach that Rachel's having. I mean, it's if you don't see it, you don't have to. But if you really want to see it, it's really not that difficult to find. But I thought it was nice. That shows you how much people. Yeah, it's like an art photo.
Yeah.
It's just a testament. It's a testament to how much people love him that the response was to flood the hashtag with just nice, happy pictures of him that weren't that, so that people would have reading it. I think that was it was nice to see that level of sort of defending people. Well, Rachel, before I let you go, the final news that we actually have is that they've announced that for Disney Plus, Kat Coiro will be the director and executive producer for the She-Hulk series. Someone in the chat was saying that they're very excited about it. So, I mean, I'm excited for the character on the whole. This is someone who's directed a lot of television, including Dead to Me, Shameless, It's Always Sunny, Modern Family, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So this is someone who has done a lot of television heading into this. I like there's comedy in there, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Modern Family, and It's Always Sunny, because to me, the She-Hulk character should have an element of comedy. And I'll let you go first, Rachel, and then I'll also let you go because I know you have to go to work. When you hear the news that they have a director and EP with a comedy background, does that make you more excited for She-Hulk?
Absolutely. So my thing is that I feel like when the Marvel movies, when they bring someone in who has a comedy background, even not as a director, even when they just bring in writers with that comedy background to help write the script or to help kind of insert some of the jokes, it always lightens it up. I mean, number one, this is She-Hulk. I think there needs to be comedy. But two, even if this wasn't She-Hulk, that I love when there is comedy in Marvel, and I think that it speaks to Stan's original vision of what Marvel is, and that there is always going to be elements of comedy in this with the drama and with the action. So I'm really excited. I think it's another case where you bring someone in who maybe they don't have the superhero background with what they've done, but they are going to bring a different perspective to the movie or to the character, I should say, not the movie.
Right. And Michael and I will continue the conversation about She-Hulk. But Rachel, if people want to keep in touch with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on Instagram at Rachel Radner Author.
All right, Rachel. Well, we'll talk to you next week. And if this week is anything like next week, actual talk about, we'll see you then. Michael, your thoughts on She-Hulk in general and the comedy background. Is that encouraging to you, or did you want like a gritty, dark, street smart She-Hulk?
I didn't really have any expectations in particular. I don't really feel like any of us have any reason to know what they're going to do until they actually, cast these people and you can look into their background. But I still don't really know what to expect. What is she going to be, like the green elephant in the room? Like, oh, she's so big and crazy looking. Like, is that the comedy aspect of it? Is it going to be like a physicality type of thing? Like, I've never particularly thought of She-Hulk as like a not serious character, like a joke. I'm just not really sure what to expect with it. If it is something different, I was really excited for that new Warrior show that was supposed to be a comedy, and so I'm interested to see what they do. But I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to imagine a funny procedural kind of show.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
That
like Law and
that
Order or
new
what.
Warriors show. Yeah, that new Warriors show has been off the schedule for so long. If you remember, Michael, the very first Marvel TV Weekly we did, which I think was like 3 years ago now, we thought it was going to be out within a few months. Like it had been announced at that point. I don't know what they clearly have other plans for those characters that didn't include that,
I don't think
but maybe they just didn't like. You don't think it's going to happen? Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, there might be something they want to do with them. What I will say about She-Hulk, if you want to see her from a comedic point of view, in the I think it was the late 80s, early 90s, John Byrne did a run that was comedic, and it was an interesting conceit. She knew she was in a comic book. So she broke the fourth wall and kind of played with that a lot. And it was fun for me. And yeah, but usually, like, if you know her only from the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, she is much more of a serious character. And there's a more recent run of hers that is also funny. But just because people in the chat are still talking about it, we will circle back to America's Johnson, as it were. Cami Egan, just like you, Rachel, I did not see the picture, nor did I want to. But how do you not check your photos before posting? I don't know. I think it happens. But Michael B says, I've accidentally sent stuff from no big deal. But come on, guys, stop taking parts shots. I'm going to disagree with that. If I were Chris Evans, I would probably take that photograph every day. But that's just my
like you were really impressed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was just like, well, that's like, that's America right there. He should be proud to wear that flag from head to toe. So in any case, I do want to, wait, where did it go? Yeah, I do want to get kind of a cheesy joke in here. Johnny, why did they cast Mark Ruffalo to play Hulk? Because he's such a rough fellow. So that's our news for today. But I do always like to do these sorts of things here on the show. And I have something that I want to share with people that I got back from CGC. If you're a comic collector, you know her. My copy of Secret Wars #8, which is not the first appearance of the black costume, but it is the origin of the black costume, and it's still a somewhat of a valuable comic in and of itself. So I got it professionally did. You can see here, I'm trying to get rid of the glare, and I'm not doing a good job with it. It's a 9.2. But it was also triple signed by Mike Zeck, Jim Shooter, and Mike Beatty. So a book that I bought 35 years ago for 75 cents, I was told is worth $500 now, but I'm not interested in selling it until they put Tom Holland in a movie. Then I'll be happy to sell it, because I feel like at that point somebody might want this for like $1,000. But I have some signatures, but these are the only authenticated signatures that I have. And CGC did this triple signing. So I'm pretty excited to have this. And I just have to find a good spot on the wall. Michael, I know you have some signed books, but we were trying to figure out who had signed them, right? So it's not anything that you've had signed personally, right? Yeah. Yeah. I've
been mostly given signed books. Like people, everyone knows I love J. Scott Campbell, so I've been given some J. Scott stuff. I've been given Stanley one. Usually I don't go after them myself. I'm more about the artists than the writers.
Sure.
But I just say really quick, our boy Chris Claremont is getting his own Marvel one shot coming up, which I think is really exciting. Have you read about that?
It's very exciting. It's to commemorate 50 years of him writing for Marvel. So it's going to include new stories. When he writes stories, they're always set sort of in his time frame when he was writing the X-Men. So I think the continuation on the New Mutants War Children that he did last year, which we talked about on Marvel Movie News and or Marvel TV Weekly. I forget which one, but I specifically spoke with him about that. So that had Claremont reunited with Bill Sienkiewicz. And yeah, I mean, they usually do a few smaller projects with him each year. You know, we talked to him a few months ago, about 2.5 months ago, about the extended cut of God Loves Man Kills. And he's got I think got a Wolverine story coming out in the fall. But then this book is like a big, like, this is the most, I think, content that he's put out in a single issue from them in a while. And that'll be out in December. And whenever there's good, big Chris Claremont news, I'm always encouraged, because I'm like, great, that gives me an excuse to interview him again. But he made the post on his Instagram. I don't know why I pronounced it like that. He's Chris Clearmountain on there. Chris Clearmountain. So if you're a Chris Claremont fan, you can follow him over there on Instagram. Yes, about that, as you would imagine. And we're talking about signed books. There was a stack of X-Men comics I had Chris Claremont sign for me in 1993, and none of them are authenticated. So I have like both parts of Days of Future Past signed. I have the first appearance of Gambit signed, but those signatures being not authenticated means if I ever want to have them for the value, I have to like then bring them back to him and be like, that's your signature, isn't it? Great. Here's $5 or $10. I forget what he charges for the authentication. I saw him at a convention once, and you can get the signature for one price. I think the signature is $5, and then with the certificate, it's $10, which honestly, it's not a steal. I mean, these triple signatures, I will tell you, I spent $15 for those 3 signatures. So they got me. There's a sucker born every minute, but I just thought it would look cool to have the book triple signed. In any case, we will. I'll have another very exciting book to share next week. Something that I would have to consider an impulse buy, which I will not reveal until then. So people will have to tune in for that. Hopefully, people like that. I do unbagging videos sometimes when I pick up a bunch of new comics. So you can look. Well, because it's not unboxing, because they're in a bag, and I forget what I get at these claim sales. So then I'm like, let's see what I got. Oh, look, it's this. And there's a few of those on this YouTube channel, the Blackcast YouTube channel, which is where you can subscribe to get new episodes of this show, Marvel Movie Talk, and any of the other shows I do, including my personal podcast, the Blackcast. Just under 2 hours from now, will be a live episode of that show, if you want to come back for that. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Michael, where do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at I Hate Michael Shirley, and on Twitter at, that was totally wrong. You can find me on Twitter at Michael X Shirley, and you can find me on Instagram at I Hate Michael Shirley.
Yes, Michael X Shirley. Well, thank you to Michael. Thanks so much to everybody in the chat. Always fun to have people watching with us live. We will talk to you next week. Until then, as the great Stan Lee would always say, Excelsior.